Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy on it. So I just wanted to record a short video on how I fix my stick drift, at least with the standard controllers, standard PlayStation controllers. I think the same concept should work for like an Xbox controller, because I think they all use the same like analog stick module. But yeah, let's get into it. So it's actually not too tough, at least with the PlayStation controller. You just gotta find all of the screws here. You know, they're all Phillips head. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'm not exactly sure what the size is, but you know, it's pretty small. But I mean, you could probably find this, you know, anywhere, any hardware store or anything. You know, Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever you choose. I got this this kit right here, actually, from Walmart. So it was pretty cheap. So yeah, it was like a few bucks, I think, like $7 maybe. So anyway, go ahead and screw these, and just make sure you have somewhere for them to go. Like I have this little groove here, so these screws don't fly all over the place. So I'm just gonna unscrew those really quick. Alright, now you just sit those aside. So now, you want to try and pry these apart. Like there's a little seam right here, so you want to try to pry it apart at. You can use like your fingernail, or if you have like a little prying tool. Let's drop mine like this. Oh, can I see? Get in there? Yeah, like this. So, well, anything where you can pry it would help, because you want to separate that from each other. Ooh, mine's a little dirty too. But so you got it pop. If you hear a little pop, and don't be scared. You know, that's just it separating. That's what you want. You know, if you have a little plastic prying tool or something plastic, it might be better, because you don't want to, you know, mess up your controller, because the controller is plastic. So just keep that in mind. Ooh, wow. Okay, put this here. There we go. All right, so we got it separated, but just be careful. Don't just try to like pull it apart full force, because you have these ribbon cables in here, so you don't want to rip those too, you know. But they do pull out, so you can just pull them out of the socket there. And then you have your battery here. You want to remove that, but just, you know, use some care. It's like a little thing right here. If you use like your fingernails or something, just wiggle it. You gotta be patient with it, but wiggle it a little bit until you can get it to come on out like that. Set that aside. And I'll just say, make sure when you put it back, you have this little QR code showing. That's kind of how you know. It's a good way to keep track of which way you're plugging it into this slot here. So, and I think there's like the shape is a certain way, so it's kind of hard to mess up. But I guess good rule of thumb is just make sure that's, you know, facing up. Alright, so putting that here. Alright, so this is the ribbon cable I was talking about. Just, you know, use some care. You don't want to rip those, because that's where the power is coming from. So, yeah. Alright. There's another screw right here. I don't know if I'm getting that right here, that you want to take off. That's going to give you access to the analog sticks and everything. So take that out. Ooh. And I think they're all the same size, so don't worry about mixing up the different screws. Alright, and this just pops off too, so set that to the side. Alright, so you're gonna want to be careful because these wires are very delicate. So when you're pulling this off, you know, just use some care with that. I think with the newer one, it looks like with the newer ones they put like a plastic guard to keep it all together. But I know with my older controller, I ripped the wires several times. So, oh, also this, you want to remove this one right here. So, if you can, so, and just slide it through this slot. Alright, it's gonna be a little tricky getting the analog sticks through. I'll just use my fingers to push it through. Just kind of wiggle it apart. Oh. Alright. I guess it's not necessary to remove this, but I always do because it makes it easier for me. Alright, so now that we have it basically disassembled, you're going to want to pull these tops off, and they just pop right off. So, and you don't really have to disassemble. You don't have to take the tops off of both of them. It's just whichever one you're having trouble with, stick drift or whatever. You know, your analog stick that's you know, moving on its own or whatever, that's the one you want to take the top off of. Alright, so they do have these guards here. That's kind of annoying, but you want to flip it so you can you know, have it on a flat surface or a flat enough surface. You may want to just use this to kind of prop the chip up on, because you don't want to, like I said, you don't want to rip those wires for your vibration, unless you don't care about vibration. But I would like for mine to still work, so use some care. And it looks like they changed the design on these the sticks. They're using different well, it's not much different. So these things right here, you want to pry those away from this block. So I know there's like a proper way you could like desolder it and everything, but I don't have the tools for that, so I'm just doing what I did. So if you have like a little flathead screwdriver, that may work. So that's what I'm gonna use in this case. Go ahead and change that out. Like, this is very small, so the one I'm using is like, you know, just so you can see, very tiny. You just want to get in there and try to pry it open. It should pop right out. You shouldn't need to put too much force on it. You know? See, there you go. Boom. Pry it right away from it. And do the same for the other side. Yeah, not much effort needed at all. Boom. So we got that pried away. It looks like there's a... Huh, yeah, they did change this design, so... So you want to get there's like a little, you'll see a disc or like a metal ring. You want to get that out of there so you can clean it with some rubbing alcohol, or not rubbing alcohol, alcohol, you know, isopropyl alcohol. So, and it might help just to like turn it upside down too, but if you have like tweezers or something, that might help as well. But just to show you, oh yeah, they did change this a little bit. This is the little piece, it's very tiny. Trying to see if I can get that to focus. Let's see. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, it doesn't want to focus on it. Come on. Yeah, that piece. So you want to like rub that with some alcohol, and it should be one on each side. Pull this one out. The design may differ depending on your model of controller, like how new it is. But yeah, essentially you just take that, grab a little rubbing alcohol. We use a 91% isopropyl, but I think you could use, you know, any kind really. I wouldn't use the green one, but it might work. I don't know, because you just want to get like whatever residue up there off. So it's got a little something up there, and then you just, you know, rub it down a little bit. Just hit it a little bit with that, and make sure you don't leave behind any lint on it, because it's, you know, going to be really sensitive to that. And then also, you know, the inside here, you'll see like a little, it's like a ring. You want to kind of run the swab around that as well, just to make sure you get all the whatever little residue that's causing it to not read properly. Get that off of there. And see, look, like you can see from just doing that, you know, I got a whole bunch of dirt on it. And I don't think they put grease or anything on this. So, and then also just make sure you don't leave behind any lint from your cotton swab. So I like to run like two Q-tips over it. Oops, got a little alcohol on the ground there, but it should be okay. And you want to make sure, or let it dry. Alcohol dries really fast anyway, but you know, just give it a few minutes or, you know, seconds to dry before you put everything back together. I mean, you could even like blow on it if you want to, or if you have some canned air, that could do the trick. So I'm gonna let that sit for a second. Just you know, fan it off real quick. All right. I think it should be dry enough. So when you put these back, you want to make sure the part with the groove is facing the inside of this thing here, and you want to make sure the groove part is facing up as well. So you know, put it in, and the trick is you want to align it with these there's like these little pegs in here, and it'll be really apparent. You'll see what I'm talking about, but you want to make sure those line up, because they have to fit inside of these the disc that you're putting in. If it doesn't, it won't work. So just kind of try to get it flat, and then, you know, just push it back together. If it doesn't go, you know, pretty smooth, you want to adjust it a little bit. You know, and it may take some time. You know, for me, it's taking me a little second, but you know, once you do it a few times, it's not that bad. And you know, whoa, but definitely don't force it, because you don't want to break it. You know, another good check, if you move the stick around, it should move the little disc here. So if you got it lined up properly, it should move with it. I'm having kind of a tough time with this. There it goes. Alright, so that should move freely. You want to make sure it's all the way in. Like when you hear it snap, that's how you know it's all the way in. So if you look at it, I'm going to try to get close here. I don't know what. See how it's moving right there? You can see that little black dot right here moving. That means you have it in there properly, so you're good to go. It's a good check. Some of the older ones, it's like these yellow parts are actually like blue or white, so it may not look exactly the same, but the parts are you know, it's similar parts. So looks like if you have an updated newer controller, they're using these orange ones now. So, and you basically do the same, well, you do the same thing for the other side as well. And yeah, go ahead and put that in there. And I think the issue is like some dust or something gets accumulated. It gets accumulated inside of there, so periodically you'll have to clean it out, just to get rid of that interference. As long as you got it kind of lined up with the stick that it's going into, usually it does just kind of snap together. So you may have to massage it a little bit. To get it to fit just right. You know, and you know, don't, when you're doing this, don't rush it. You know, set aside some time to do it, because it might take you a while, especially the first time, to get it to fit just right. You know, it takes a little while, so a little patience. You know, you'll get it. See, there it goes. You want to make sure you snap it in, and you also want to make sure your stick is moving smoothly before you put everything back together. So if it's moving smoothly, it's a good indication that you have everything properly assembled. So just want to flip that back. You know, check your wires here. If you do rip one of these wires out, you might have to get a soldering iron. Well, you definitely have to get a soldering iron to fix it. But and I've had to do that before. But you know, just use care so you don't have to. You know, if you don't already have one. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my analog stick back up there. You know, it just clicks right on. Let's see, next step. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and slide this back into the front face. Well, actually, no, we're not doing that. Okay, so we're gonna take the touchpad. What you want to do is, it's kind of a tricky process. Well, all right. While I'm thinking about it, sometimes these the L2 R2 buttons pop off, so you just, you know, pop those back on, make sure they're moving nice and easy. All right, so it's a tricky process to get the touchpad back on. Like there's like this little groove here, so just this way. There we go. So you have to slide it like underneath this bar, but you also have to make sure you connect the ribbon, the power ribbon, back. So and there's like this little hole that you gotta thread it through up here. Let's see, make sure I'm getting that. This hole right here, you gotta make sure it goes through. So this the first time. So what you want to do, you putting it back together, but you want to make sure this ribbon goes through that hole. And don't worry about it being a little loose right now. You just gotta get that ribbon through. I mean, I guess if you have tweezers or something, it might be easier, but you know, for me, I'm not using any, so gotta work with what I got. Alright, so that's the outside. Come on. Work with me. I guess you could, if you have a little flat head or something, you know, tweeze it through. But, let's see. Usually I'm able to just stick it through and it's fine. There it is. So I bent it a little. I bent it back a little bit to make it straighter. So that way, when I put it down, it just came through on its own. And then you just want to reconnect it to this this right here. That's basically where the power is going to go through. So you could use your nail and just push the blue thing. It's like a blue plastic tab that makes it easier. And if you wiggle it, you know, it should slide right in. And that connects the touchpad to the controller. So we're good there. See, the next step, what you want to do is this is where the battery will sit, so you want to screw that back in. Oh, and make sure you switch back to a Phillips head. I'm gonna do that. Remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So, right, and now hold that stuff together. All right, and then you got to put your battery back in, and just remember to have that QR code facing up, at least in the newer controllers. And just make sure this white piece matches up with the piece you're putting it into. And it should slide right in, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Yeah, and if you got it the wrong way, your controller might not power on, so that's a good way to check as well. So like even while it's open, you could power it on. I just don't have the light attached, so you can't tell. But whatever console you have it synced to, it should pop up. And also, this is a good way, like a good step, or a good point in the process where if you want to just check to make sure your issue is resolved, you can play a game really quick and move your stick around to make sure it's moving smooth. In my case, I went to Apex Legends and it's moving pretty smooth. So, yeah, it's definitely a big improvement over what it was. I'm not seeing any stick drift right now. Alright, so that we know that's the case, and I'm just gonna move to make sure. Yeah, it's like we're smooth. Alright, so the last step, you just want to make sure you plug this power cord into this this slot here, and that's going to give you your light indicator on the controller. And I guess the USB connection as well. I know I use mine heavily, so it's a little tricky to get this one in, but you know, just take your time. It's not too bad. And you know, don't try to bend the power, the cable to any weird way. Just kind of follow how it's shaped, because that'll be a good way, or it'll be a good indicator as to which way you should plug it into the slot. But you know, in my case, the blue was facing the tab was facing the battery. So, and then you just put it back together. Snaps on together, and then you just have your last 4 screws and you're done. I'm just gonna put those in there for completeness. You know, when you take it apart, it's a good opportunity if you want to clean the like the actual outside of it, like that little groove, this groove here. It's a good opportunity to just, you know, take a little swab or a rag or something to wipe off, you know, any residue, dirt. And also, if you have like problems with your controller sticking, like the button sticking, while you have that disassembled, you can just take some alcohol and like another Q-tip and swab those out as well. I didn't have that issue with this controller because I don't use it that much, but I know some people, you know, especially if you're using a controller like every day or you're eating while you do it, you might want to just do that, and that'll actually solve that issue as well. So. So, all right, there we are. There we have it. So, hope I was of help to somebody. Save you $60 so you don't have to buy a new controller. So, yep, look, bam, bam, bam. All right, catch you on the next one. Cool, peace.